Hey folks, Carla Sands here, putting in a plug for Gene Valentino's Grassroots Truthcast.
Hi folks, Kent Emmons here, founder and CEO of Crave News. We all know that the 2024 election will be decided by the independent-minded 18 to 54-year-old voters, a massive audience that has totally been left out of the real news cycle. Currently, the right-leaning news outlets are programmed to a much older audience, and with the nutty propaganda that the left-wing networks try to pass as news, it's no wonder that we have a demented corpse in the White House, Kamala Harris and Adam Schiff are hailed as heroes, and the younger crowd actually thinks there are 73 genders. There's a big market for a news network that targets a younger audience by serving up real news in a way that's raw, edgy, and unfiltered. Crave News is about to launch, and this is your opportunity to become a founding shareholder. Get ready to write down this number, and I'll text you a link to more information. Become a founding shareholder in Crave News and own a piece of the next generation of news. Call 615-819-5535. That's 615-819-5535. Crave News, real news, no BS.
Welcome to Daybreak with Ted Tibbett and Michael Paul. If you'd like to call us, our new studio line is 268-1017. Our email is newstalk107.1@gmail.com.
It's a little too much. It is 7:16, 16 minutes after 7 o'clock. Michael, this time every Friday to me is like Christmas Eve. Santa has finally arrived.
Yeah, he is here. Gene Valentino, the Velvet Hammer. The studio crowd is so excited that they can see you this week because we're back on Zoom. You've been on the phone with Ted a couple of weeks, I think. I was out for a couple of weeks, and but you were also out 1 week last week, 2 weeks ago, I think. And so we haven't talked to each other really in about 3 weeks, maybe something like that.
Yeah, it's been that, but we attempted to stay in touch a few times. Now it's back in the old saddle at home again. Thank you, Ted, for riding co-pilot with me when Michael was out. This was a fun conversation. Ted has a way of bringing up some issues that get me sparked too. Of course, Mike Pohl's pretty good at it himself.
Ted's only been doing this for 50 years or so.
Oh, yeah. Or so.
My favorite line, if you're going to light a match in the gas tank, don't bitch about the explosion.
That's exactly right. Ted started in radio really as a child because his father was in radio. And of course, he followed him around at all his different radio jobs, including Biloxi. They turned on something interesting. His dad, Ted, you probably tell it better than I do, but he turned on WLOX on the Gulf Coast.
And WVMI too, by the way.
And WVMI radios. Wow. Two of the big ones that, for many, many years, WLOX radio was like the big radio station on the Gulf Coast. And his dad started that. And you know what's interesting? It was an AM station. And Ted, it was in the water.
The tower was in the water, and that I'm not an engineer, but somehow I know that helped the signal go.
Yeah, that's what they say. It makes the signal go real good.
Studios in the Buena Vista Hotel.
How about that?
And now with the new concept of streaming, where folks can listen to WMXI on www.wmxi.com. You get the programming coming in. I've got friends from Nashville who are listening right now. I've got friends up in Connecticut listening. And I know that signal strength in Mississippi doesn't go that far.
No.
But it's the new generation, and it ties into so many social and political issues. For example, how do you monitor and maintain the credibility and decency of a radio broadcast signal on the streaming services when there's no laws or rules to monitor bad behavior per se, just the individual desire to censor your commentary like they do with certain topics of discussion in the internet. They'll censor you, but there's actually no rule with the FCC that says, you can't use 4-letter words on the internet. I mean, we've got to come to some standardization, whether it's you're listening or watching this broadcast from radio through your car while you're driving to work, or whether it's a streaming a streaming a broadcast coming to your iPhone or iPad anywhere USA.
Yeah. So a lot going on, Gene. Not to change the subject, but it looks to me like, and I'm tickled when I say this. It looks like Democrats are broken. They're disheveled. They're pathetic in their
Gee.
attempt to try to gain national attention again. You've got people like Jasmine Crockett, who is basically, to me, is an internet personality. She wants to be a influencer on the internet, and yet we find out yesterday that she is hard to work for. She's one of those people. She's a narcissist, obviously. She thinks that she's better than everybody else, and she talks to her staff like they're lowlifes. And you look around and see what's happening. The Democrats turn tail and run to get out of Texas. I mean, there's so much going on that shows how broken the Democrat Party is. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on some of those things that we've been seeing over the last week or so.
Boy, I tell you, Michael, we never talked about how broken the Democrat Party is, have we? I mean, we talked about it years ago. In fact, it was on this show, Michael. I predicted the complete meltdown of the Democrat Party in the next election. Well, the next election was the last election, and we talked about it back then. And to see a narcissistic Jasmine Crockett, as you say, with no substance and a lot of sizzle and no substance, replacing whom? Another narcissist. Where's Nancy Pelosi these days?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Nancy Pelosi, great example of somebody who has no real depth. But Jasmine Crockett beats all that I've ever seen. I mean, she is a mile wide and less than an inch deep. She has no depth to her whatsoever.
And just as soon as I think the Texas neighbors to our west are getting things tighter, you've got a Beto O'Rourke. I love saying Beto O'Rourke going up to funding some dozens of Texas legislators to escape to blue states and sanctuary cities around the nation to make sure there's no quorum available in the Texas legislature, bespeaks the fact that Governor Abbott is absolutely correct to really impose sanctions on these people for denying, for abandoning their duty as an elected official. Now, here's what we've talked about also in the past, which has got to ring very clear. The guy and gal listening to this right now can no longer sit back and let the elected person they hired assume that they're doing their job. They have to monitor them. They have to make them accountable and transparent. The question is, have the legislators in Texas been accountable and transparent? Well, when you're using the immigration laws or trying to circumvent the immigration laws to further a what I would call Marxist socialistic initiative under the Soros regime to prevent the conservative majority of this nation from being able to go forward to fix the wrongdoings of the last 3 decades and the last 4 years in particular. If they're not going to let them let the majority rule, the majority is ruling. If they're denied the ability to rule, that is a breach. That is that's contrary to the democratic process. Hey, when Joe Biden got elected 5 years ago, boy, I swallowed hard. It was not pleasant. We felt the pain, but he was the elected official of this nation. And he proved himself to become even worse over the 4 years. But the fact of the matter was, we went into lockstep and got behind our president, only to find that the vicious, conspiratorial, demonic Democrats are going in the opposite direction. to make things worse and not support the democratic process, the same democratic process they lived by. They're trying everything they can, Michael, to circumvent the constitutional republic, while they're working in parallel right now to suggest that we go above 9 Supreme Court justices to some much larger number. That's
Yeah.
an
Wow.
attempt. That's an attempt to twist the decision-making process and the standard opinion of the Supreme Court. There's a group down in D.C. It's called Keep Nine. 9 is a good number. Getting too many cooks in the kitchen becomes unmanageable. We
Yeah.
have 9 Supreme Court justices. Let's work with them, no matter how crazy some of them are who've recently been appointed. Don't know a man from a woman. And let's work with those folks to try to come to some understanding of what the precedents and the pre-existing decisions have been that have kept this nation steadfast and ruly over the last century. Anyway, that's my banter for this morning. I'm just hopeful that the Democrat Party is melted away into non-existence. You know, the Republicans can't be blamed for Robert F. Kennedy coming over to Trump's side and to becoming an independent. They can't get mad at us for having a Democrat, Tulsi Gabbard, become head of the Department of National Intelligence by a Trump appointment. And there's another number of congressmen who've left the Democrat Party to become Republican. No small coincidence. It's mostly a one-way path for all these people.
But it's interesting, Gene, the Democrats keep showing their hand. They keep telling you, like you had what's his name, the crazy Cajun that was Bill Clinton's guy. I can't call his name.
Jim Carville.
Yeah, Carville. Okay, so he's talking about the 13 Supreme Court justices. They're talking about stopping immigration, not stopping immigration, but not allowing immigrants to be taken out of the country. They don't want them to be taken out. And there's a lot of reasons behind this, but you hear now the president talking about doing a new census. Because why? Because when the Democrats were in charge, what did they do? They undercounted red states, overcounted blue states, and not only that, but they counted illegals. President Trump wants to have a census, a clean census that doesn't show the immigrants that have moved into these blue areas. And we have talked about this ad nauseum a number of different times. It's important to Democrats to have all of those immigrants in their cities because it keeps seats in Congress and it gives them electoral votes in the presidential race. So
which cannot be included.
Right. So they show their hand, what they're trying to do. They are the ones that want fascism. They are the ones that want to have a permanent Democrat Party. Just look at California. California is about 40% Republican. They have 17% representation in Congress. They don't want Republicans to be in Congress because they know that they won't vote their way. And the state's been in charge, or the Democrats have been in charge of that state now for how many years? 20, 30 years. And look at the way that they set things up there. So, and they've got the gall to point out Texas trying to do something that they've already done.
And Connecticut is worse. Connecticut is 100% Democrat in terms of representation, and it's about 45% voted for Trump up there. But not one Republican exists in Congress to Congress from the state of Connecticut. Is an example of another blue state. It was Trump that you talk about ad nauseum. We're riding a high right now with Donald Trump taking the initiative on this census issue. But Michael, this is why I also say ad nauseum that we need a constitutional amendment. Because long after Trump is gone, we need a rule in place that says that the term coterminous should drive a one man, one vote rule. The concept of coterminous means that if it's a 60-40 split on the voting, that the representation have some reflection of that in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. It doesn't, because of the George Soros money stacking the deck to promote elected people that don't reflect the narrative of the very people they're working for. And there is the fissure right now. There's the divide in where our constitutional republic needs repair. We need to make sure our representatives elected are truly representative of the Republican and Democratic Party, that this two-party system our constitutional founders created reflects. It's got to be somewhat coterminous.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Gene. We appreciate your commentary each Friday. We appreciate you, and we'll see you again next week.
Enjoy the donuts. Thanks.
7:30, bottom of the hour. Fox News break is next.
Fox News, I'm CJ Papa. President Trump wants his Russian counterpart at the peace table. We're going to see what he...
That was good.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I enjoy it. You know, sometimes I think, I don't know if you feel this way, but sometimes I feel like when we don't make a plan, it's better.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's also, what's good about you and me now? It's gotten comfortable. I swear to God, Michael, when you get a male menopause kick in and you want to do something a little different, take one of the tapes of the best of these and you send it over to your friends at Fox.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, if Newsmax doesn't take me to the next step, I'll follow you on Fox. I mean,
well,
I may be hitting you up again in the future for those renewal on those contacts. I think her name was an Allison Wood.
No, Allison Scott is her name.
Scott, she's the wife of she got married.
No, she Allison Mansfield, her married name is Scott. And her husband, they've been to Pensacola and to Destin. They stayed in Pensacola and Destin. I took her and her husband and their friends out on Stephen, my brother-in-law in Destin. He's a charter captain. And we took them out fishing and took the kids to the beach over there, Crab Island, all that stuff one summer about 3 years ago. And they really enjoyed it. So I've become pretty close to her. But
she should be your entree into Fox. I think you'd be fantastic.
Well,
this little episode.
I'm so busy doing what I do. It's just hard for me to do that kind of stuff right now. But
well,
anyway, hey, I love the no woke zone. That I gotta have one of those. I'm gonna have one of those made. My
buddy down the street, Scott Wardell, got me that, and he said, here's something for you. And
it's very nautical too, like a no wake zone. You see that sign everywhere.
I'll find out where he got it. I'll try to get another one.
That's awesome.